I will call the meeting to order at 7:01. This is a meeting of the Town of Norton Zoning Board of Appeals, April 2. It's nice and warm outside, all of 42 degrees, but here we are having fun. We have a number of items on the agenda tonight. I count 5, and 6 if you include the minutes. First one is the comprehensive permit application of Island Brook, 0 East Main Street. This has been before us for the last year and couple of months. The applicant was awarded a comprehensive permit some years ago. The matter went to litigation on environmental issues, cleared that, and then came back to us a year and 2 or 3 months ago, beginning of 24, I guess it was, with what amounted to a request for modification. And with us tonight is Town Council Amy Questle is tuned in by Zoom.
Yep.
The public was given notice that they were welcome to appear here at Town Hall or by Zoom tonight. Is Mr. Itani present by Zoom?
No.
Mr. Gallagher?
Mr. Gallagher and
Yes.
their attorney, Chris Agasto.
Chris is there too. Okay,
And-
thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
Yes,
just came in.
Here's
Chris Agostino's here.
Mr. Itani is here.
Mr.
It was
Itani there?
7:05, it's not 7:05, but anyways.
Oh, I see. Mr. Itani is here, he just walked in.
Great,
And
great.
you're right, this is on for 7:05, so technically we are supposed to wait another 2 minutes. Amy, I know, communicated with Chris, counsel. I don't know, Amy, I think, got the draft Monday night. And I spoke with Amy today and understand that she has been in court and tied up. I will let Amy, or Mr. D'Agostino, Attorney D'Agostino, speak for where we are at this point.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, these plans have been before the board over the last year and a few months, and the board has engaged in peer review that resulted in refinements to the plan. And the one issue that we were working with the board and its consultants on was how to phase the project. And the board's big concern was that if only phase 1 was built, would it qualify as a standalone development in compliance with 40B and have sufficient number of affordable units and sufficient stormwater management facilities and the amenities that the board had bargained for in terms of that playground and dog park, if for whatever reason the second phase wasn't built. And certainly that's not the applicant's intent, but it's the board's concern to make sure that if for whatever reason that happens, that everything's spoken for. So I prepared, and I believe over the last few hearings you received peer review from Graves Engineering that confirmed that all the engineering issues had been resolved, and Mr. Gallagher had prepared a final set of plans revised through January 29th was the most recent revision date, and that was presented to the board. That was the peer review set. So what I had done was I prepared a decision or a draft decision for the board to adopt to simply confirm that the final plan set is consistent with the original approval and that it does not constitute a substantial change relative to the plans that were originally before the board, and that the issue of phasing had been adequately addressed. So the draft that was presented to Amy, and I apologize that we were only able to get it to her on Monday, and I know she has a busy schedule, so I can understand if she wasn't able to look at it right away, but in that it's concise enough that we were hoping that the board would see tonight that we're simply referencing the final plan set, confirming the content of the board's deliberations over the last 1 year, which is essentially reached the conclusion at this point that those final plans are consistent and that the phasing element has been adequately addressed. So we're before the board tonight in what is a continued hearing on this topic, and we're asking the board to adopt the decision and confirm that they're ready to endorse the plan set that's enumerated in the draft decision.
Thank you for the update. One point, I just saw this earlier this afternoon, the draft. I'm not sure if the other members have it or not.
Yep.
You do? Okay. I think we determined at the beginning of this process, meaning a year ago, in February or January, February, or March of '24, that we deemed this a substantial change, and that was the basis for opening the public hearings that we've had. Do you?
No, Mr. Chairman. My recollection was that we deferred that determination because had you made that determination, it would have been a formal public hearing with notice in the newspaper and abutter notices, and it would have been based on the criteria that are in the HAC's regs as to what is substantial and what isn't. And we asked that the board defer that and engage in peer review to determine that, in fact, based on the criteria, which really only allow for limited circumstances where you're dealing with a substantial change, based on the criteria under the regulations, the plans really would not constitute a substantial change. So essentially, we've deferred that, what you just described, we deferred that determination for the entire 1 year, 3 month period so that it could be determined in this decision tonight that it is insubstantial and that all of the conditions have been satisfied. We went through that exercise early on. We prepared a comprehensive spreadsheet showing that all the conditions were satisfied. And the board's concern was about the engineering attribute.
Oop. If you can hear me, you have frozen. Just hold on 1 minute.
Wi-Fi went out, it's coming right back on.
He's on mine.
I guess the Wi-Fi.
Stand by, please, if you can hear me.
Jesus.
He can't be hearing you because he keeps talking, so.
Oh, he is?
To finally endorse. So
Oh, boy.
that's the procedural posture.
Hold on, please. I'm sorry
But,
to,
what it comes, sorry.
sorry to interrupt you. You've been electronically muted for about 1 minute. I apologize for that. You froze. Your picture froze for us.
And your audio.
And the audio.
Yes, we
So,
can.
The last thing I heard was something engineering for about a minute. I don't need you to go back unless you want to in closing up. But that's something that I'm going to have to resolve in the record. I thought I thought that was the purpose of the hearings that we had. I understand what you're saying, that you think we deferred on that and that now's the time to deem this either substantial or insubstantial, and you're suggesting it's insubstantial. I understand the criteria you're referring to. Ms. Quessel, can I bring you into the conversation?
Sure.
Thank you. Where are we in this application? I know you haven't been with us every meeting for the last year, but it seems to me, well, in addition to the issue of substantial or not substantial, which we have in another matter tonight, ironically, same question, the decision here doesn't have a waiver list. Don't we need a waiver list and that table that council was referring to of the waivers, I'm sorry, the table of specific portions of the town bylaws that we are deeming taken care of.
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, at the last hearing, you did note to Mr. Itani that, you know, that the time between the last hearing and this hearing was limited. And he said that if his counsel couldn't get a decision to me with enough time, we would continue this. So, again, on Monday afternoon or evening, I received a draft decision. I need to go through the previous filings. I need to make sure that those conditions have been met. I need to make sure that the waivers are the same and have not changed. We've been told that they haven't, but I still need to do that. This decision, whether it's an insubstantial change or a substantial change, the decision, in my opinion, isn't sufficient. It doesn't have any preamble as to how many units are going to be constructed, how many units will be affordable. It doesn't have a procedural history. You know, you've seen my decisions when it comes to 40Bs. They're, you know, quite lengthy. However, and this won't be lengthy because it is a modification. It won't be as lengthy. But this is not a draft decision that I'm comfortable with this board with recommending that you sign. And I think that the applicant acknowledged at the last hearing that if we did not have enough time, then he would continue this again. And quite honestly, even if I wasn't in court all day yesterday, getting it on Monday afternoon or Monday evening is just not acceptable. I just didn't have enough time to look at it.
Yeah, and we're not putting that on applicant's counsel. We understand that he had to put this together, and our last meeting was 3 weeks ago tonight. It wasn't the normal 4 weeks or even longer.
And that was pointed out. Yep.
But for the sake of clarifying a couple of issues, and yes, we have done these in the past, and they've been much more involved. So when I saw this today, I said, I questioned myself, and this is the first time we've addressed the applicant or counsel, but don't these even modification decisions normally refer to the original decision and the date, and then also have a list of waivers attached to this decision? That's my memory. That's how we've done it in the past. So that's what I'm.
So it would either be a list of waivers that would be required, or there would be confirmation that the waivers that have already been granted have not changed, and there's no additional waivers necessary.
Okay.
Something like that. But you know, it's very important when you have a modification decision. That modification decision is going to get recorded. But it's very important to note what the actual modification is. So when we go back and go through this, you know, when somebody has to go back and see if there's another modification or something, we have to have a clean record. Mr. Itani knows this because we've done this in Lakeville, where he's had numerous modifications, and we've made sure that every modification refers to the prior modification, refers to the original. All of that stuff has to be done. It's easier for the town, it's easier for him, it's easier for a subsequent buyer. It's something that has to be done, in my opinion.
Okay, so what do we do? Do we ask you to work with counsel, applicant's counsel, and come back to it at the next meeting date? Is that enough time?
Sure.
We haven't closed the hearing.
Right.
And that's why I want to go back and see if we deemed it substantial a year ago, because.
I thought we discussed, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not at all.
I thought we discussed it that, I think Ms. Wexel deemed it significant. And I think after we talked, I thought we said it wasn't. That's my recollection.
Well, I wanna
Again, I
see-
might be wrong, because,
I want to see if we voted, because that affects what we're going to put in this decision. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with the end point that we've arrived at. I'm just saying, I think we have to be clear on what we did and whether these have been public hearings or just continuations with applicant's approval. Again, not arguing with the finished product, except that this the 2 pages isn't enough to encompass it. But is this something we can get done in the next couple of weeks, few weeks, and return, council? Amy or
Is
Chris?
that to me, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, when's your next meeting? When's your next meeting?
Stand by.
May 7th.
May 7?
Yep.
Yep.
That's the first Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Sure, not a problem.
Okay. Mr. Agostino, Mr. Itani, can we proceed on that track?
Mr. Chairman, good evening. Mohammed Itani from Island Brook LLC. Mr. Chairman, I believe when we started the hearings back in November of 2023, I believe it was, the board determined that it is insubstantial.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I recall differently.
All
but-
we did, we aligned the roads at the back part, phase 2. Phase 1 did not change. Phase 2, well, we added the dog park and we moved them back, and we lost 4 lots in the process, consistent with the approval of the DEP for the order of conditions that was issued. And I believe the board determined that it is insubstantial. There was actually a loss of 4 lots, not an addition. We just realigned the roads to meet the requirements of DEP. So
Okay.
we really didn't do any changes. We're not asking for any new waivers. We're not asking, and I don't
Okay,
know. if-
well,
if-
the record will reflect that, but that's fine. I'm not arguing the process here at all either. I just want to be clear on the record and the decision of what, how we approached it.
I mean, the reason we've been having the meetings because the board determined it's insubstantial. Otherwise, we would have stopped, advertised, and opened a
Yeah,
public
I
hearing.
understand.
So that's why we're here a year later. We've already determined that it is insubstantial because there is no really change or anything. There's very little change.
There's a reduction of units.
Well, I guess,
That's
remember-
correct.
I
Mr.
remember-
Chairman and Mohammed, I'm listening to what you're describing. So that we can accomplish something tonight and be, efficient in our use of time, because I know the board has a lot on the agenda this evening. Is there any opportunity to just confirm and have that vote this evening? Because, whether it was determined earlier or now, the plans have been before the board for some time. I think the board's familiar with the changes that were made. Mr. Gallagher presented the changes to the board. The criteria for substantial or insubstantial is well known to everyone at this point. And, my suggestion would be if we have the board vote to make that determination and then charge council with preparing a draft that's comprehensive and aligns with how Norton does their amendment decisions, which every town is different, but, if council wants a more robust modification decision, we can certainly work together and accomplish that. But I would suggest that the board just confirm, and again, you're familiar with the plans, and we've spent a lot of time with peer review, if they could make that vote this evening and then ask council to put together a decision consistent with their deliberations and then adopt it at the next hearing.
Let me ask Lucas and Jim, do you recall a vote earlier
I-
on in the process? And yes, Brian?
So if we had a major, we would have sent out notices. And I
And
recall,
we did not do that then.
no.
Right.
But I had accidentally sent it out beginning, not knowing what the 40Bs were.
Ah,
So I would have remembered sending it out twice. So
Okay.
I believe we did vote for minor.
that it was not substantial.
think
That's what I remember.
Okay.
I remember that, and I think we were harping on the fact that is this gonna be 2 separate projects, basically, and then he said, we're gonna continue the infrastructure,
Yep.
and then we'll build the second phase, and we said, okay, then this is insubstantial.
Okay, well, I'm
I'm
gonna
pretty
go
sure.
with that collective memory then.
If you're
That's,
comfortable with that, do you?
I'm not
have-
uncomfortable because I don't want to change anything now if that's what we did.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, but I
We're gonna get to the same end result.
Exactly.
It's a matter of expediting it.
Right.
Can we get an affirmative vote that it is insubstantial? This way this topic doesn't come up again?
Yep, let me hear from Amy, and I'm not suggesting, having to start with a public hearing
No, I'm
now.
saying
That's not what I'm suggesting at all.
Yeah.
Amy, can you help us straighten this out?
Sure, don't vote tonight. You're gonna want to have my analysis before you vote. Since you deferred it, whether it's substantial or insubstantial. That's what council represented, that you deferred that vote. It's most likely, as you all recall, it's most likely insubstantial. But let me go through the prior decision. Let me go through the changes, and I'll be back on May 7th and report back to you with a decision that you can vote, and then you can vote on the decision, and we can be done.
I don't think that, yeah, I
think
mean,
that's-
doesn't hurt.
that doesn't hurt
Yeah.
you guys, you're,
Yeah, but the idea is,
No.
you know, we've been in front of the board multiple times, and I believe 2 meetings ago, the board was ready to adopt the plans and the changes, and then Mr. Graves Engineering suggested that we ask the fire department if they approve the final plan,
And we did that.
and
Yep.
they did, and
Yep.
that was the only thing that was left.
and then
there
the other thing was the waiver list.
We
Which
asked for.
didn't change. It's the same exact waiver list that we had in the original submission, so we did not request any new changes to the waiver list.
Okay, so we asked for a written draft decision, and we
Can-
have
can
that.
I-
That's correct.
Maybe-
You even asked for a written
Can I make
decision.
a point on that?
Yes, Mr. Gallagher.
We started with was the settlement agreement that's dated August 25th, 2016.
Yeah,
And if I remember coming to the board in this most recent process that we're in, and we went through all of the conditions that are spelled out in that settlement agreement. And we submitted to the board that the plans that you now have in front of you really met the conditions that were listed in that settlement agreement. The only issue that really was kind of hanging out there was the issue of phasing.
Mhm.
We presented everything else to you, and we showed you that the plans that you have met the conditions in that settlement agreement, August 25th, 2016. So what the board asked of us was, okay, well, if the phasing issue is still out there, let's deal with that. And that is what I worked through with Graves Engineering. Their examination of this current plan set basically was restricted to the phasing and whether phase 1 could stand alone if phase 2 was never constructed.
yeah.
All the other issues associated with this set of plans, we said to the board, we're meeting the conditions in our settlement agreement.
Okay, and.
So I think we went from there to say, okay, then this really is not a substantial change since
Okay,
this
without,
plan set
I'm not trying
agrees
to.
with what's in that.
The
settlement
board,
agreement.
Mr. Gallagher, the board's not disagreeing with anything you've said, I think. So thank you for adding to, the history of what we've gone through here. I don't think there's disagreement with that.
Mr. Chairman,
We're simply saying, we're gonna take the
Mr. Chairman.
time. Yes, Ms. Questle.
from a procedural standpoint, if you vote that this is insubstantial, you're done tonight. That's it. So you're not going to have a decision. You're going to say it's insubstantial. So whatever they submitted to you a year ago is the change, because that's how, when it's an insubstantial change, it's essentially whatever they submitted. It makes absolutely no sense to vote on this tonight. If they want you to vote on this tonight, they're going to end up with a project they can't build. So this makes no sense at all. Particularly the time.
No?
Excuse me, I'm still speaking.
I'm sorry.
Especially considering the time that this board has put in, the peer review has put in, it doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand where this push came from. At the last meeting, Mr. Otani specifically stated if we did not have enough time, we would continue this hearing.
Yeah.
Mr.
Can I
Chairman,
just say,
yeah.
I'm not pushing for any action tonight. I only say, what I just said, hopefully to lend some clarity to the discussion and what I've been hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Itani?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we're not asking for the board to sign off on the modification. We're asking, the letter that we sent, we're asking the board if they can reaffirm that it is insubstantial. This way, we're not opening that again.
No.
Because it
Yeah,
was already
Mohammed,
decided.
Counsel.
I think, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I know the board has a process that they want to adhere to, and, I hear town council has a process that she's accustomed to. I don't think there would be any problem in conditioning a vote on a subsequent, more comprehensive decision that is reviewed and approved later, but I see where the board's going with this. I really don't think it would be harmful to just make that decision tonight, but if it's not in the board's, realm of possibilities based on what town council is advising, then I think we're happy to defer it, but I think what I would just ask is, if anything does come up in the interim, if we could make sure that we hear from maybe Brian or from Amy in advance of the next hearing, so that these questions are, checked off before we get there, and we're able to report that we've reviewed everything in advance, because I thought the procedural history was, and again, I haven't been to the hearing on this in a little bit, but I thought the procedural history was pretty well documented at this point, and I thought this was teed up for a vote this evening. But if that's not the case, if we could just do whatever we can to make sure that we're all on the same page, that would be the best thing we can do tonight.
That's what we're attempting to do. And the fact that we got the draft 2 days ago, and I'm not putting that as a negative on council, I'm simply saying that we needed to get that, and then we need to
Yeah.
digest it and talk about it.
Yeah.
So
and
town
every
council
town's
has
different,
said
and I
that
think
she can
we
get
need
it
to
done
do
with
an
you in the
administrative
next 4 weeks.
decision, and the decision reflects an administrative endorsement essentially, but this
No.
board sees it as more comprehensive than that.
No,
So
I'm not
that's
inclined,
certainly-
I'm not gonna ask for any vote tonight. We all think we know what the end result is gonna be. So I'm not sure why, again, Amy said it well, why this is being pushed all of a sudden. We've been working for a year and maybe more than 3 months on this. I'm not gonna ask for a vote tonight. I'm going to suggest that we continue till May 7, and hopefully we wrap it up that night with a document that we can vote on and sign.
Yes.
Is that, certainly you don't mean to cut off the other board members from,
No, we both agree.
No, I agree. I personally don't see the harm in waiting.
Just let Amy do her part.
Yeah, let Amy do her part. I think we've all come to the real fact that, I remember the discussion specifically about whether this was substantial or not. I'm 99.999% sure. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure on whether we actually did a vote, but I think we
Amy's right.
discussed it.
Amy's right, because if we had said insubstantial, that's the end of the process.
Correct.
So we deferred.
But I remember discussing it, going, it
Yeah.
wasn't a substantial,
But-
right, because it would have taken it a different direction.
Right, but we had more to find out.
Right.
And we've done that.
And we did that, and then the only thing that we had done left, the only thing I wrote down last was the list of waivers that we hadn't discussed yet. And if Amy's saying it's not in, she wants it a certain way, I think that
No,
would be
that's
fair
fine.
enough.
I mean, I'll be happy to, if the
Okay.
board wishes to continue the meeting till the May 7th, I'm fine with that. But I just wanna, if the board is not ready to reaffirm that they deemed it insubstantial, that's fine.
Yeah, but that's a technicality, because if we had said insubstantial, we would have all gone home. You would have gone and done the phasing. So we didn't, from memory, collective memory, we didn't vote on substantial or insubstantial. I think your counsel put it correctly. We deferred on that. We said, let's find out what's at stake here, what's going on, and that's how we played this out. I remember it incorrectly at the outset. I think Jim and Lucas have refreshed my recollection, along with Mr. D'Agostino, have refreshed my recollection as to how played out. So with that, a lot of discussion, but I think unnecessary. Is there a motion to continue the matter of the Island Brook 40B to May 7 at 7 PM?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
We've asked council to work with applicants' council to get this in shape. We have all the historic documents, the old list of waivers, and if that's the case, that they haven't changed, then we'll just attach it to this or somehow refer to it. But a more robust document than the two-page draft that we have is what we've used in the past. I'm going to ask council to work toward that end. With that, Mr. Tenori, how do you vote on the motion to continue?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Okay, thank you, council. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Atani.
appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Gallagher, thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Thanks,
on-
everybody, good night.
Yeah, good night, good night. Next on the agenda is 0 Hill Street.
I just got into communication with them because I didn't see them in Zoom or in person, and they said that they're asking for a continuance.
Oh, Amy's here.
Amy is here.
Right, but he said that he wasn't ready.
Who?
The engineer, Dan Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Yeah.
And how did he ask for a continuance? Was it a phone call, an email? Or?
Email. I just sent him an email. You want me to send it over to you guys? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
and
just received it.
to Amy.
Yeah,
Can we still get Amy's?
I just received it, Amy.
I didn't know who was online and not online, Ms. Questle. I apologize, we had.
Oh, no big deal. I was here anyway for Island Brook. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, for
we
both of
just
them.
want to make sure that we want to make sure that they're extending the 100 days to act, along with their requesting continuances.
Can you read us the email, Brian, and send it to us and to Amy?
I just sent it. Do you want me to read it into the record?
If you can.
Do you want me to read the whole thing of?
Yes?
Hi, just a reminder, ZBA meeting is tonight. Zoom link is 638-929-1060.
That's your,
Yeah.
what did Mr. Campbell?
Brian, I expected to have conversations as we discussed at the last hearing before we came back. I'm sorry I was not prepared to present again this evening. Please ask the board to continue the project to allow us time to converse with the chair and town council.
So, did you hear that, Amy?
I did, however, I don't know if we would be having conversations with them unless we're in an open meeting.
Yeah.
So that's a little concerning that he thinks that, but I guess,
I
guess
don't know
Brian,
what
you need-
conversation he was referring to there. Did he mean
I think he
on
wanted.
their side of the team?
I think he wanted a paper copy of what you guys were going to talk about. But, like, you guys, I explained to him that you had a phone conversation this morning, and
Yep.
I didn't hear anything back from him afterwards. So I thought he
Right.
was going to come to the meeting.
Can we get Amy?
So you need to send him an email telling him that he needs to extend the 100 days to, well, has he ever extended the 100 days?
It would be over 100 days.
Yeah,
we had
because
it,
this was back October 15th, I think, is the date of the application, at least in
he's-
OpenGov. So,
And he's,
did you get his email, Amy? Can we
and
email him?
he's agreed to continuances in the past?
Yes, they have asked for continuances in the past, including at the last meeting where he said he knew that we had just talked about his January letter, which we all found to be a little confusing, and he said,
Right.
I didn't expect you to vote on this tonight. I know you want to run it by town council. That was the representation at the last meeting. I don't think we have anything in writing from the last meeting, although we have the record of the meeting itself. So should we ask him to email that waiver as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, his continuances are,
Yeah, it's tacit.
you know,
So I think,
he's asked for the extension,
Yeah.
So I guess, my problem with what's been submitted is there are statements in the submittals that make that there's broad statements, and I don't know where these statements are coming from. For example, there's it's been stated over and over again that these lots as they exist in their smaller form are legal lots and buildable lots. I don't know where that's coming from. If that's coming from the new change to 48 Section 6, which allows for lots that have 75 feet of frontage, 10,000 square feet of area, that would be true that perhaps these would be buildable, but they're buildable only for a single-family house that's 1,850 square feet at maximum. So there's a lot of things I need to know why they're making these broad statements. The other broad statement that they made was because there was an A&R plan. That A&R plan indicates that the lots are buildable, and that's not true. Legally, an A&R plan does not determine the buildability of a lot, and in fact, A&R plans have a caveat on them that says this plan does not mean that these lots are buildable. So that's another question I had, and then I can just tell the board, I can give you a preview. I don't understand their argument. It appears to me that if these lots were buildable in 1967 when they were created by A&R, then they needed to be built upon because now the bylaws change.
That's
and now the lot size.
That's what we pointed out to Mr. Campbell, right?
Correct.
Mr. Campbell, at the last, you're saying the bylaw changed, but it wasn't acted on while the old bylaw was in effect. Then the new bylaw said something different, so you had a period of time then. But counsel, are you suggesting that we need to interact with him and you at a meeting, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that was what I was anticipating. I was anticipating getting some answers to these questions. Seeing if my opinion was going to change.
Okay.
And it was. I figured it was either going to be a situation where I was going to be able to just give you my opinion verbally after hearing the answers to their questions, or perhaps asking for a continuance, and I could write something up. In the meantime, I don't mind writing something up between now and May 7th. My memo to you might have a few questions in it for them, but I don't mind doing an analysis based on what I think. Obviously, my answers would be couched with the fact that I don't have all of the information, but I can still do that if that would be helpful.
Yes.
I think that is something that would be helpful. Do you agree, Mr. Tenard?
Yeah, because I think your analysis is kind of why we brought you on board, because we were thinking the same thing.
We asked the same kinds of questions that you just echoed. Well, you didn't echo them. You raised them from your own read of this. We had the same questions, I think, at the last meeting as to...
Well, we had an opinion that we thought that these were not buildable at one point, and then he continues to bring new evidence, and then he's now bringing us old bylaw paragraphs, and then he's talking about the A&R plan, and it's kind of in between. For us, we're interpreting in between the lines, so then we said, you know what, we should bring Amy in and kind of...
Yeah, well, I didn't know if legally he could sustain that kind of argument that...
But if we can get a memo and then get that in front of him before the next meeting...
I think
then
that would be
will
helpful, yeah.
Because he spent a lot of time on this, and I think there was a lot of effort put into it, but we need a proper response.
Yeah, I wrote question about
that's no
non-conforming
problem.
before zoning, which is what we talked
That's
about.
what we discussed openly, yeah, okay. Mr. Campbell has asked for a continuance to May 7th. You're going to be here on May 7th.
I am.
For Island Brook, and we'd ask you to be present for Zero Hill Street as well. I'll ask Mr. Carmichael to communicate back that we accept the request, the late request for continuance. We expect it to go forward, but we will honor the request and also deem it to be a waiver of the 100-day rule on variance requests generally. And ask you to send that to him tonight if you can.
I can after the meeting, or...
Yes, sure. And that Amy Town council will attempt to put something together with some questions and some analysis that may be incomplete based on the answers to the questions that the board and town council has. I can help with that email after as well, but we'll send that off tonight. Okay, is that good for you?
Yes.
Is there a motion to continue this matter, 0 Hill Street, to May 7, let's say 7:05, so we don't have to wait?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
No further discussion. Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Amy, thank you very much. Did we?
And so, Mr. Chairman, I do, on May 7th, I will need to be here by Zoom because I have a trial. I'm in a trial that day, so I wouldn't be able to get to Norton in time, if that's okay.
Yes, it is, of course. Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Thank you for letting
Thanks,
us
everyone.
know.
Have a nice night.
You too,
Take
Amy.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Now, the third item on the agenda. Public hearing as to 15 Patton Road. And I see the applicant is here, and I see interested abutters are here as well. At the last hearing, 3 weeks ago, we had closed the public comment section, public question section, but then we asked the applicant, I think, mentioned a different plan set, and we said we didn't have it. The applicant got it to us. It's in the file. I am going to suggest that we reopen public comment because there's a new plan sheet that's been submitted. Now, I will say that the only difference, I think, is the lot area coverage on the new plan sheet up
Yeah,
there.
we requested the schedule to be on here because it wasn't anywhere
Right.
recorded.
I think you made that request, and it is here.
Yep.
And I think the applicant said, oh, it's on the sheet. And we said, no, it isn't. And that's when it came out that there was a new plan set. The plan set is the same as the December revised plan set with the addition of the square footage.
Mhm.
However, because we're allowing this new evidence in, I think it only fair to reopen the public hearing, to ask abutters if this changes their perspective at all. And I can tell you that the coverage is 16.9%?
23.09.
23%, okay, thank you. The house,
Living space, 23.09.
yep. Living space, 23.09.
And that's what the building code goes by, I believe.
Living space?
Living space. When we've had past applications with, where they're doing additions, it was always
Living
triggered
space.
by living space.
But is that in 6.2 table?
Yeah.
I thought it was coverage of
No,
the
It's
house.
livable. We've had that issue before.
Maximum percentage of lot covered by building, 16%. That's what I'm looking at.
that too. There's two of them. But I think under 25% we're okay on the living space. There's something in our code on the living space as well.
That's for a pre-existing non-conforming, that it can't be 25% greater increase. But what I'm looking at for terms of variance request is percentage of lot covered by
Yes.
building, and that's what I thought you were asking for.
I was.
Last time. So the, in an R60 zone, which this is, it's 16%. The house is 19.2%. How is living space higher?
Second floor.
Second floor.
Oh, thank you. Obvious. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? So the lot coverage is 19.2%. Agreed?
Yep.
Yes.
And that's a variance that would be required for this, as well as the other variance features, the side yard setbacks in both cases.
Yep.
Is that correct? And front yard as well, I believe. Front yard, 40 feet normally.
Yeah, it's at 20.
And this is at 29,
No, yeah.
29,
No,
28.
28.
28,
One is 28, one's 29.
No, the porch,
The porch,
comes
which
out.
we go by the porch.
Ah,
We go
yeah,
by the closest, 28.
28, yep, I see it.
This is a better drawing than last time, so.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 14 on either side, I think.
Yep. Well, on the front yard setback, though, one says 28, one says 29, both are the same line.
No, they're
No,
not.
see the
If you look,
porch?
see?
I do.
See the little
See,
jog?
look, right there, I
Yep.
blew it up.
The porch is 1 foot further up.
Oh, that point?
Yes, just that one, that little jog is 1 foot closer to the front.
Oh, I
The
can't
porch-
see it
the
on
porch
this
sticks out.
small, yeah, I see.
Yep.
It's not the same, it's not to the same line, right?
No, it's a foot
right.
out.
Yeah, I got you. All right. In any event, the front yard setback, we could note both distances.
Right.
28 to the porch, 29 to
To the
the
house.
corner of the house itself, right. And 14 feet on each side, correct?
Yep.
And then the lot percentage coverage, where the bylaw allows 16%, this is proposed at 19.2%. And, sir, is this the plan that you were referring to last time, that you thought was in the file?
The one I just uploaded is the same plan, other than the lot coverage was added, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And that revision date is March 19,
Yeah, yep, certified by Mr. Trowbridge.
right?
Yep.
And based on the last hearing, during the public hearing, there was a suggestion made to drive by the property to take a look, and I did take a video that I can show tonight of the abutting houses and their size.
You did?
Yes. I can show that to you guys.
Do you want to see that?
I drove by as well, but, I mean, if you want to take a look.
Okay. We can show this, we can play this for
Yeah.
others, but let's take a look closely first.
So
Okay.
that's the property.
Yep,
And you saw the first house?
Yep.
That's the next house. And that's the next house.
okay. All under construction apparently.
And then there are other houses within the neighborhood of similar size as well.
Yeah, okay, well, can you turn that around to let the butters see as well? And Mr. Campbell?
So just that side of the street that I took.
Okay. So, last time we heard from a number of abutters who were not happy with the proposed house. I will open up the meeting for further comments. Does this affect, or does Mr. Campbell's, I'm sorry, the applicant's statement that he would add some trees along the property line, which he offered to do last time? Talk to us. Who would like to be heard?
Please be mindful, just address the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just identify yourself and your address. And-
Sure. I'm Jackie Dodson. I live at 21, so I'm the direct abutter to the
and
property.
You sent a letter.
I did.
Which we had last time.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
And I was part of the meeting last time. I still believe that the 14-foot side yard is just too close privacy-wise. I think that the 25-foot bylaw, or the side yard setback exists for a reason, for privacy purposes and not making it feel overcrowded. I know the other two that are under construction are of that 14 feet, but they didn't have existing houses on those properties before. It was all woods before, so I'm assuming that's why they're closer together, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, you're telling us those were vacant lots before?
They were, yeah.
Okay. And this is to replace the house that was,
Correct, the
Right.
one that's currently there.
okay, got it. Yeah. noting that the house currently there is actually closer than 14 feet on the easterly side right now. This would center it so that it's 14 feet on each side. Yes?
Tiana Plum, 9 Mayflower Road. I stand by my opinion that there is no great need to have to give waivers, that the house can be a smaller house. Mr. Freeman built a smaller house 2 years ago on the corner of Reservoir and Evergreen with no garage at all. In fact, a driveway only for one car. He can build something that's smaller and abides by what the bylaws are. They were made for a reason. And nothing has to balloon out to within the one side because of that little house, but the other side doesn't have to balloon out to within 14 feet of the next person's property. There's no imperative to have to do this way.
Okay. Sir?
Yes.
What was your name again?
Dave Constantino,
Yeah.
5 Mayflower Road.
Go right ahead.
Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. So I'm confused as to why this is even a variance and not a new construction permit. So typically, when there's a house that's on a lot and it gets knocked down, it's new construction, has to meet current codes, current ordinances. It's not just a house that's being built on a vacant lot. I'm a little bit confused as to why this is even a variance.
Well, he's requesting a variance. He's requesting, that's why he's here, he's requesting a variance. This is not buildable as designed right now.
So
That's why he's-
there's been 4 houses in the past 10 years or so that have been knocked down and rebuilt. All had to stay within the bylaws at the time, 25 feet from the street,
Maybe,
that kind of thing.
maybe had to stay within the footprint of the old house, is that
Stay
what you're?
within the footprint and stay within the bylaws.
Do you know what houses
Setbacks.
those were?
Yeah,
Where were they?
one's on the corner of Alder and Woodbine. Tom Higgins, Tom and Barbara, he couldn't be here tonight. His wife is ill. Actually, your house, the tree went through Deb's house. She had to rebuild in the same spot, same footprint. Luke Grant built a little house on Mayflower Road. I'm not sure what number, next to you.
31, I believe.
I think it's 21.
21. They made him leave up a wall and stay within the same footprint.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't Mr. Freeman have to abide by the same?
When there is a pre-existing non-conforming use, the section of the bylaw is different that applies. This house,
Is the same,
was there,
pre-existing.
was it
non-conforming.
vacant?
No, it's not dilapidated either, by the way.
No, it's not dilapidated at all.
Not on the outside.
Been vacant since August, just
There's somebody living there now, is there?
There was up
There
until,
was.
up until August.
up until he took over the neighborhood.
It has a new roof within the last 4 years. It's been vinyl sided. It's not dilapidated.
So, like, allowing him to build outside of the intended bylaws just hurts the value of the abutter's property.
Is this the current construction?
Yes, that's,
The shaded line, how thin is that house?
oh, it's very small.
It's very small,
Oh, it's gotta be,
Probably
which is
12 by
great
20.
because it
That's
means
not-
less people.
That's the house.
it's gonna be 8 feet.
That's that house.
at
No,
best.
I think it's about 10 by 20 or something.
I mean, it looks like it's cut.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so isn't this a pre-existing non-conforming use analysis
I would think so.
as well? I hadn't
Well, because it's within,
looked at it that way,
neither have I actually.
but that complicates it anyway.
It's not a change in use, though. Same residential.
One point five E, 175, 1.5 E. Non-conforming use may be changed, extended, or altered upon a finding by the permit granting authority that such change, extension, or alteration is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use and is subject to conditions and limits as the board might impose. It's the intent that such change of use be permitted by the board whenever the proposed use is of the same general class as the existing non-conforming use, it is, single-family residence, and would not significantly increase traffic, noise, bright lights, or other undesirable impacts on the surrounding environment. The other lots that came before us from this applicant were vacant lots.
Right.
They have the
This-
small lot, the small.
And they were the
exemption.
small lot exemption.
Small lot exemption.
Right, well, we noted the small lot exemption, right, and the limitations there are narrower.
Mhm.
But here, isn't this controlled by 175, 1.5E? Applicant applied for variance, but this is an existing non-conforming use that's being changed or altered. Am I looking at that right?
I believe it's 1.58. I thought that's what the application was in front of us. What's the actual application say?
Setback variance and a section 6 finding. So the section 6 finding is the 1.5E.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
So the applicant would need both of those things. Well, let's see, because the house is actually being moved, he wouldn't need a variance on that side. Where'd it go? It's right here. The house is being pushed over the present construction this way, right? So you still need variance. This is pushing it further. I'm unclear on whether a variance would be required because he's pushing the house further back and in that direction, in the western direction. But he's certainly not just rebuilding that. That has to come under 1.5E.
Yes. So the lot coverage is under 1.5E. Because it's only allowed 16%, and he's requesting 19.2%. So wouldn't that be, yeah.
1.5E and variance, both, because he's increasing the non-conforming nature for lot coverage and for the position and size of the construction. So we'd have to, in order to grant, we would have to decide that this is not substantially more detrimental. 1.6,
Yeah,
that's where the 25%.
that's where the 25% comes in.
Which with most additions in this neighborhood in the past.
Hit that.
Hit that, trigger that, and then that's why they have to come in front of us, and then we
Right.
typically grant the variance to say, hey, you're doing an addition.
Mhm.
I think everyone that's done down there is, we've hit that.
Well, but here, 1.6 says,
Well, the difficulty in that neighborhood, in any of those areas, we've said before, is there's a small lot exemption for most of them, which allows you 13 feet side setbacks,
right,
25 feet front setbacks, which
5,000
in our
square
opinion,
feet.
this property kind of sort of fits into that model, but it doesn't meet that criteria.
Right.
It should have
Right.
never really been zoned as an R60, in our opinion, but it is.
Yeah,
And that's why he's in front of us for the variance. Then we said, the public hearing, we had a lot of complaints about the height and the structure and blocking, but what he's doing is allowed by the table, the 35 feet or 30 feet, whatever the number is, so the height's not, there's no variance for the height.
For height, right.
But that was the biggest complaint, was the structure and the height of this building.
Mhm.
Took a ride by the neighborhood, and there's a dozen houses of similar size to what he's proposing to build.
How do we know the size of those constructions?
Well, I'm
It's on
just
the
taking it from.
tax plan, of course.
Yeah, of course, but from proportion and size and what
Mhm.
he's building, it's not like he's building a castle in the middle of,
Yeah.
a small village.
Mhm.
What he's proposing is what I would consider a standard home in today's economy, and
Not for this neighborhood.
Mhm.
There's $800,000 house and there's a lot of $300,000 house.
Well,
It just looks out of.
the bylaw doesn't speak in terms of value or dollars.
It just looks silly,
So-
very silly in our neighborhood.
The board's discussing what's been presented, so
Okay.
I've just
Do your
asked
thing.
for that respect while we discuss what's in front of us. I think we have to come under 175E and the variance parameters. Can we say that this is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use?
well, lot coverage impact is, we're talking about 3%, not 20%. So, I believe that it is not more detrimental
Oh.
in terms of lot coverage
3 over the 16.
over the 16.
Yeah. Yep,
So typically with these small lot areas, that's the number one thing we discuss is the lot coverage, and then typically setbacks afterwards. That's what we've done historically.
but the size of the structure, the change, is that not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure? I mean, that's a big change when you're looking at it under 1.5E.
Yep.
It's really 3.5 times the width of the existing structure.
But what's currently there is not normal.
No, but the bylaw, 175E, talks about then the existing non-conforming use. And the existing non-conforming use, which still exists, is there. I hadn't considered it under 1.5E until tonight. I looked at it as a variance request, and comparing it with other locales nearby. I'm not sure under 175E that I could say this is not substantially more detrimental.
My only, and I'm not saying I'm for or against it right now, but I'm only saying if you do drive by it, I mean, he hasn't given us, you know, he's given us the
Mm-hmm.
floor plan, like, we don't have the height and anything like that, but my assumption, and maybe that's not right, but my assumption it would look almost exactly like the two on each side.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Are the heights of those?
I guess maybe I could ask you straight up, is the house you're proposing in generally, because we
It's
only
the exact
have
same as number 7.
same size as on each side.
Number 7, the white one. The
On,
white one in this video.
Yeah. So it
To
would,
the right?
Yeah, yeah.
The new
For look,
construction.
stand in front of them.
yeah, it would look, I would assume it would look right around the same height, same,
Yeah, and then her house is about the same size.
yeah.
Is height
Minus
of
the
record on the town records?
I don't think it is.
What is it?
The height of a structure?
I don't think it
Is
is.
that in the town records? In other words, the tax records or it's not in the map?
No, it would be
What's
square
defined,
footage.
An existing one?
No, like if you went to town records, I think it just shows square footage, correct?
Yeah. Well, why do we need height?
If we're comparing what's there, what's in the neighborhood.
Well, R60 allows X amount of height.
Yeah, 35.
He's under that threshold.
Yeah,
But I think almost every residential
Is under that.
is under that number
yeah,
anyways.
because we
So-
never get height variances.
Yeah.
That would be unusual to want to put up a,
No, I'm not suggesting we give a height variance. I'm just,
Right.
I'm saying when you drive down that street, because I did it and he obviously has a video, you can look at it again, you have a 2-level, I guess they call it colonial, right? And then you have this property, which is, a single family, rectangle,
Yep.
and then you have another colonial right next to it. So I would envision, in my mind, if what he's proposing to be built would look almost like a colonial, like the two on the right and left.
do you
Again, I
have,
don't have a height or anything, I'm just.
do we have elevation designs for this?
I have a set of plans, this isn't the exact set, this I just brought to you to show you, but obviously I gotta stick to the footprint.
Correct.
But I can,
Yeah, but is there an elevation plan for that footprint? Elevation drawing that
well,
shows?
no, I guess to best answer your question, let's just say, not that I'm gonna, decided to add 5 feet onto what we're talking about tonight, which I'm not gonna, So when I sent it to the building department, he would have to send me back for a height variance, so no, I'm not.
No, I'm not
Usually-
disputing the height of the building. I'm
Okay.
just asking if you have a representation of what style of construction.
I have this. This is what the house is gonna look like.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, in my mind, picture what is gonna go there.
Same thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is that the same
Yeah,
thing
this
as
same.
what?
this footprint,
Yeah, it's the
this
same.
footprint is on that plan. I didn't get an actual 15,
Okay.
this is
Are
real.
those the two houses, the two other
Yes.
houses that you
Well,
constructed there?
Right, when I go to the next step, hopefully, I'm obviously gonna
Yes.
submit an official set for 15
Okay.
deck. Okay, but this, for all intents and purposes, this is.
That would be what it would look like.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was kinda asking, like, I'm not holding you to that, I'm not saying we're at that point
Yeah.
for anybody, but I'm just asking what, in my mind, what he's,
Yeah.
No, so Google Maps,
Yeah,
Google Street View does not go down any of these roads.
right.
yeah, right.
But what it does do
I've seen that.
is it goes down the
Overhead.
main road,
Mhm.
the inside road. So if we,
I see.
so there's those houses, but this is the road where all these little streets come from.
Mhm.
So if you go down this road, height-wise, you already have similar houses within.
Yeah.
And then this road, no, not this road, this is fine. So on Mayflower Road, right on the corner,
Yeah,
that house.
very same.
Do they have garages?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
this is the house I'm showing him, right on the
Oh,
corner.
that's your house, Dave.
August of 2023. So what he's proposing is very similar to this house, smaller.
It's about a
possibly.
story,
They're
it's about a story
very much
taller.
bigger than that.
They're
Very much.
very much.
But
Yeah.
again, there's no height. I know
I
you guys have a big
understand
issue with
that,
the
but my
height,
road doesn't look like my road
but it's
anymore.
the square
I
footage of the
can't
house.
even, like, it can't even look that way anymore. I can't. It makes me sick to my stomach.
And then this is the start of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he better not take that lot down the other end.
But again, If you go, so I went to the GIS map,
Yeah.
and if you look
I
at
know,
the
it's better.
setbacks between most of these lots,
Mhm.
most of these lots are within 14, 15, 20 feet
And setbacks?
on the side setbacks, because that's how this neighborhood is just built.
Yeah, yeah.
The houses are tiny though.
Let
Mr.
me-
Chairman,
Hold on. I think I need to look at that, GIS map, to look at the other homes in the vicinity on the side yard setbacks. Yeah, I see that, look at that. Those are the other houses he constructed.
Did you do all three houses on that road, or just the
Two.
the white one?
The white, no, the white and the blue one,
The two next to each other?
yes.
And then the one to the left?
This proposed one is, the small one is 15.
But there's another one to the left of that,
No,
no
that's,
garage.
That's mine.
I'm
That's
sorry.
her house.
That's her house.
Got it.
And that lot was created by variance.
But the other
4,000.
two are the applicants.
Is height determined from grade level, or is it determined from the top of the one? Where's the height of a structure?
Right, his
From the
structure
grade-
Let me
sits,
finish, the height of a
It's
structure.
the height of the structure at the structure. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, if it's on a grade and the driveway goes up and then the house starts up
It's from the
here.
ground where the house is.
okay, so
To
he
the-
built it up
to the
20
highest
feet.
point.
Well, and I'm not speaking for him, but I'm pretty sure that's because of the floodplain,
Yeah.
is why those houses are going up as high as they are. And that's happening
I
on,
would think so. Yeah.
on Pine Street as well. If you go down Pine Street towards Crane,
Yeah.
the houses on the
I
left are
expected
way up,
that.
it's the
Yeah.
floodplain.
They don't belong in our neighborhood. So what's that? They don't
Okay.
belong.
So, are you comfortable that it passes muster under 175E and under the variance bylaw?
I would,
Changed, extended, or altered only upon finding that the change, extension, or alteration not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use.
This neighbor says it is a detriment. 14 feet is not enough.
Yeah, I
Looking into
understand.
each other's bedrooms.
Okay,
Really?
we're getting nowhere. Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Because I think that's what we have to do. I understand that you are frustrated and you're angry that the developer is here and that we get to make this decision. We understand that, but we've got to have an orderly discussion. You repeating the same concerns and complaints by yelling them out does not help anything.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize. I've asked you before not to just speak up. And now, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion. Well, hold on, do you want to ask if anybody else
anyone
other than
else.
this in the
There's
back?
others.
Does anybody else have something to say about this plan as shown in the record? Either for or against the
No,
the
not mine,
application?
No, no.
I do not see. Nobody online?
Nope, just me and Paul.
Okay.
I'll make
thank
the motion to close the public
Okay.
hearing.
Sorry.
Okay. No further discussion. Mr.
Nope.
Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak, Mr. Noel votes yes as well. So the public input and the applicant's input is concluded at this point. Now it's open for discussion by the board.
So I'm torn, right? So I understand flat out right now I'm 50-50. I take the public's input pretty seriously because like this just happened to me. Someone built a house behind me and they're looking right at my pool. So I understand what they're going through. On the other end, when I did drive down that house and what I envisioned and what he just showed us is pretty much in line with the four houses right there on that left side of the street. I personally don't think, this is just my opinion, I think building a house right now with a two-car garage is futile in this.
Without a two-car garage.
You need a two-car garage. I think that the days of not having a two-car garage and trying to sell a house is not, that, no one's gonna buy it.
So that's a minimal house, you believe, that's on the plan?
That's on the plan.
We just sold
Okay.
one with no garage on the corner. Our neighbor,
Lucas?
the one on the corner.
I've always said that this area of Norton, all the lots should be under small lot exemption.
Because it's congested.
The zoning bylaw has an R60, 60,000 feet, and no lot there can have, even meets that square footage. I would say over 75% of the lots don't meet that square footage. I drove to the neighborhood because I care about the neighbors and all the input, and I want to make sure we're making the right decision, but I believe he's within 3% of the variance required for the 16%. The height, we have absolutely no jurisdiction on the height. The right side setback is further than what it is currently. The left side setback, I think he's addressing with bushes with the neighbor, which is a driveway, and then there's a house. So I believe that what he's proposing is not more detrimental, and that-
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay. So is there a motion under 1.5E that the plan of record, and this is the revision of dated 3/19/25, the proposed single-family dwelling and garage there, under 1.5E is not substantially, would not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use, subject to conditions of the tree line, as what is there now. Is there such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Second? Mr. Tenori, how do you vote? Under 1.5E, to permit the replacement of the non-conforming use with that as shown on the plan of record, as has been amended twice now, is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use.
I will vote yes.
I vote yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Under variance relief, there is a need for a variance for frontage of 28 feet to the porch, that it not be closer than 28 feet to the roadway, and for the rest of the structure, the house portion, 29 feet, not closer than 29 feet to the road. Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. The side yard setbacks are both at 14 feet, as shown on the plan of record. The easterly side yard setback is actually further than that of the existing structure. The existing structure appears to be something like 7 or 8 feet away. Is there a motion to permit the variance for both side yard setbacks to be not closer than 14 feet from the property lines?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote on the variance relief for the side yard setback?
Yes.
And Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. And finally, for the building coverage, the bylaw says no more than 16%. The applicant has submitted a plan showing, is it 19.3?
0.2.
Thank you, 19.2%. That's certainly within range of what we have voted before. Is there a motion for approval of that variance request?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well, for the record. Okay.
Thank you.
We did condition that on you putting in some vegetation, some
can do that.
trees on the southwesterly border. That's understood?
Yeah, absolutely.
That will be part of our decision as well. With that, good luck. Good luck to the abutters and the neighbors. I'm sorry that you're not pleased with the decision. we made the decision based on what we feel is appropriate under the neighborhood and other decisions that have been made. Thank you for taking part. We will draft a decision and have it within 2 weeks.
Thanks for your time.
There is an appeal period after that by which any abutter or person aggrieved can file an appeal of the decision.
Is that 21 days or 20?
20.
Yeah, I think it's 20.
20.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck to all.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, are we done?
Yeah, there is.
What else is on the agenda?
2 other items.
So,
Did we get a revised agenda?
Yeah, there is.
yeah,
Did we?
yeah, I
Sure.
forgot to send it.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, you're.
Oh, I was gonna say, we never got a revised agenda.
there is a revised agenda.
I just didn't email it to you guys because
Okay.
I saw it and I have it.
I'm just not prepared for anything.
Nope, it's
Yeah.
fine. One is a presentation by Paul,
and then
and another is the 40B at 195, a request for modification. We just had that for Island Brook. I
Okay.
think this will not be as meaningful or as controversial.
Hope so.
We hope not.
Less
But-
significant?
I was gonna say, we approved this a long time ago.
Yeah, I know the address.
The last time you guys came back, it was the sign, correct?
Yeah.
For the
Okay.
record, the chair is allowed to move agenda items
Yep.
around. They are on last, but Paul is still here, and Paul has pizza in his car for all of us, so we're gonna
Perfect.
take
I haven't
that
eaten yet,
last.
Paul, so come on.
So, with all due respect,
Well, if
thank
you wanna
you
move us to
for
the end,
waiting
pizza,
for us. Yeah, if you want to wait for the pizza, you have to sit through his presentation. We got a letter, was it March 20? I have it here.
I clicked out of it, of course. I thought we were done.
We hope we were done.
I thought I was on too.
Well, then I'm looking, I'm like, they're here.
Why is there so many people?
Why are they so still
I actually
here?
thought they were here for the last agenda item. I was forgetting about this, and I didn't recognize them. I have the papers here. For the record, when there's an existing 40B application and the request for any change comes in, within 20 days, the board has to meet
yeah,
and decide whether
I saw
it's
that. Okay.
substantial or insubstantial. If we decide tonight that it's insubstantial, as Amy pointed out, that's it. If we say it's insubstantial by vote, of course, we issue that by letter, but the applicant gets to do what,
They wanted it.
to modify the 40B.
Okay.
But to Mr. Carmichael, it's a 20-day shot clock. So just be aware of that, because
Yeah.
it came up just last week, and Brian said, so do I put this on the agenda? And I said, yeah.
That's what was going back and forth for
Right.
why, okay, yeah, now
Why
I
I'm not
understand
here.
what it is.
The
Okay.
first decision is whether this is a substantial modification
Because of
or
me.
insubstantial.
Because of you, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
And there's a whole list of things that the state regulations say make it substantial. And that's what Mr. Itani was saying, they didn't come under any of those things.
Correct.
I just couldn't remember, I thought we had voted at the beginning, but that's not right, because.
Yeah, no, I know we never took a formal vote, but I
You're
remember
right.
discussing it extensively, because Amy was against it.
Yeah,
So,
but we didn't actually vote, because that would have been the end of it.
Correct.
And we never would have gotten into the plans and the phasing. So here, do you have this on your systems? I have a copy right here, I printed it out. Just gonna ask the applicant, identify yourselves, and just quickly walk us through what these modifications are. There's a letter dated March 20.
Oh, yeah.
There's the letter.
No, Paul's later, Paul's after.
But I'm here to answer, because I was here when this was originally
Oh,
approved,
okay,
too,
okay.
so.
And that's helpful too.
No.
Okay, just to summarize briefly, and I don't need to cut you off at all. Applicant proposing the addition of new amenities. This is for 195. This is the building that's there called, is it Norton Apartments?
Norton Links.
Thank you. Right across from the TPC, appropriately named. 1, relocation of previously proposed pool area I don't remember a pool
I
area.
don't remember a pool either.
Let's go from the southern to the eastern side of the building. New location of pool will add approximately 1,250 square feet of impervious cover. Addition of a dog park and a pickleball court with plantings in lieu of previously proposed 18 parking spaces. Pickleball court and pedestrian access consist of approximately 2,350 of impervious cover. Addition of 20 by 18 maintenance garage with associated driveway access to the garage, approximately 520 square feet of impervious cover added. To accommodate the location, access path for stormwater pond has been shifted north. That's what's in the letter. There is, I think, one plan sheet, although I got it a couple of times, I think it shows the same thing. Can you just explain what this sheet shows? And of course, there's the elevation drawing, as I'll call it, for the new storage shed, work shed.
Yeah, so Brandon Carr with DePrete Engineering, Jason Kimbitz is with AR Building here.
Thank you.
So, we're here for 195. It was approved back in January of 2021. We've since completed construction. They have occupancy about 80% rented.
Wow.
All the affordable units are rented. So all 100 units count against your inventory. What we're looking to do is the three items you just mentioned. So there was a pool, if you look at the building on the bottom side, kind of where the angle point is.
I know where it is now.
Interior, in that, right below the label that says existing apartment building.
Was this an indoor pool?
No,
No, it was an outdoor pool, and it was a small little.
I just don't remember it.
I don't remember it. My wife actually brought it up. She's like, they have a pool. I'm like, no, they didn't. I remember looking at it.
Yeah, it was a little like bean of a pool.
Yeah,
right.
And
That's the plan up.
This was the
Oh, that's
original
the-
plan?
Yeah.
I just-
I have it here too.
It didn't register.
And
Okay.
then while you're looking at the old plan.
Right, I
so
see.
It's like that, and
Yep.
then this was shadowed out parking spaces.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I remember
it
that
was
that
just-
shadowed out parking spaces because we wanted you to reduce the number.
Yeah, it's like an overflow parking in
Yeah.
case we need it.
Yep.
I remember
Is it
talking
paved or is
about
it grass?
It's grass, and so, our concept here is if we do need it, we will put it in. But in the meantime, we wanted to put in a dog park, pickleball court, and in order to make the pool work better from where it was originally supposed to be located, we wanted to move it to the other side there. It's a much bigger spot. It's a really tight area once you put the fencing in.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we wanted to add the maintenance garage for any tools or anything that we had there. So
That's at the
Down here.
Yeah, down the
Yeah,
we
bottom.
kind of viewed it, whether you viewed it as significant or insignificant, we kind of viewed them as, much better use of that site than what we're doing now, with the ability to still park there in the future.
What are you
How's
gonna?
parking now? Like all the parking
It's-
spaces now, are you
we have a lot
50%
of parking.
filled or plenty?
We have a bunch of extra parking.
Really?
Yeah.
I was out there, I was
just
out there
there.
last week, and I was talking to Jason and Emily last week, and they said that it was 80% rented, and I'd driven through the parking lot the day before, and it didn't compute for me, because there were like
Yeah,
no cars.
there's a
I drive
ton
by
of-
every day, I would agree that, I actually think, I was like, oh, they're only 50% full, parking lot's wide open. So-
Yeah, I mean, we were
The only thing I don't like, by the way, just nothing we can do about it, but I got stuck behind a school bus. Kids had to cross 140 to get to the bus.
We talked about that.
I did not like that. They literally 140 stopped
Yeah, we have
both
a bus shed
directions.
there.
I wish the bus would come the other way.
Yeah, I mean, we put that in there
I remember
for that
talking about
reason,
it,
so
yeah.
I don't.
No, they crossed all 140.
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
can't
damn, we
control.
talked about this.
The bus should almost pull in and loop around and just
Did not.
load the kids in
Right,
there.
we don't control the bus.
We don't control that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. I remember talking about that. But
Yeah, I remember that too. That's why you put the shelter in.
Yeah, no,
just for
not
that
even
Well,
reason.
we can add a bridge while we're doing this right now over 140.
Elevated or underground?
It's substantial.
That's insubstantial.
Yeah,
I wouldn't worry about
but
Yeah, and yes, and to get to the substantial, I mean, if you've read the requirements, it's basically, to be considered a substantial change, it's 10% increase in height or size of the building, 10% in number of units.
Yeah.
It's really to the mixture of this mass of the building, so that's why we feel this falls under the insignificant
These are
category.
attributes.
Yeah.
Amenities, as you call them in your letter.
And it's a net kind of wash with the impervious, because if we factored in that additional parking for the stormwater
Oh,
system.
right,
So
I
we
see.
left that all size for that additional parking. That's not gonna get built. This is less impervious than the parking would be.
Yeah.
So it's a wash that way, so we, you know, think it's a pretty benign change and.
I remember talking about the seep-through material that's available now, and
Yeah,
and so there's grass there now.
Yeah, it's a grass island now.
And half is still gonna stay grass.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a dog park, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's what the net impervious
Yeah.
surface is.
Based on what's presented, I definitely agree. That's a
Insubstantial.
Yeah, I would say so.
Under the regulations are aimed at if you're increasing.
It's more units.
Height
Right.
or
Yes.
number of
Yeah.
units, you know, that's the type of thing that we have obvious concern with. Or reducing units, I suppose,
Mhm.
although I think that's even in the regulations, because that's why, I remember talking about that for Island Brook.
Actually, a reduction in units is considered an insignificant change. I was
Insubstantial.
surprised too, with,
Yeah.
you know, but,
Because it affects everything. But-
yeah.
So it's up to us to discuss, and we can take a vote tonight if we're ready to do so. Did we have a problem with the number of parking spaces last time? In other words,
You would,
we said you needed a number and there was some in reserve? That's exactly what you're telling us.
Yeah, these are not registered against the parking spaces that were approved. These are additional parking spaces.
That were never installed.
Yeah, they were never installed and are just kind of in reserve if need be, and will still be there
Yeah.
in reserve. It's just, can we have a better use of that?
If you have to rip up the dog park in 10 years, then.
Then we rip up the dog park
Right,
in 10
right.
years.
I bet that dog
And I
park
feel
is
like
used a
some
lot.
odds were
luck
had.
ripping
It
up
would,
the
it
dog
would,
park.
it would be
Yeah.
a great amenity. And we, you know, we've had, 80% leased. I mean, we've had great success already. People really enjoy it.
Are there animals in there, if you don't mind?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know to what percent, but
Yeah, I'm not-
normally what we get is about 30% of the units
Really?
have animals. Yeah, yeah.
It's a
And
nice
dog
looking
parks are a
project.
huge deal for
It
us.
is.
I mean,
You guys did a good job.
from
Yeah.
when we originally proposed this to where we are now, the whole world of like dog parks and dogs and everything, that's all really changed. I mean, this
Yeah.
was it was approved in 21, but the ball was rolling way before that. So what we find is that's a big plus for people. So
Any other questions from the board?
Nope. I'm good with, Moving on.
Insubstantial vote, yep.
yeah, I can make a vote.
Is there a motion to deem, I guess we'll go, well, let's talk about the shed just briefly. Plans are
Yeah,
submitted.
there's an elevation on that, but it's really just a single story, 12 by 18, isn't it? Or, just more storage for,
Yep, and that's enclosed.
That's not where they're piling up snow though, right?
no, the snow storage is kind of around the perimeter, more towards the left of that.
Okay.
We don't have snow anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's
Hey, we had a
another
good
thing.
winter.
Boom, boom, boom.
I like snow, I don't like the cold, you know, I could do with the snow. And that plan is, a pictorial plan. Are the dimensions actually on here?
Yeah, it's 20 by 18.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would refer to the new plan sheet, however it's titled, and I would refer to the shed in the decision. Is there a motion to deem these proposed modifications to the Chapter 40B existing project not substantial or insubstantial within the meaning of state regulations, not the bylaw?
I'll make that motion.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
How do you vote, Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Insubstantial, non-substantial, Mr. Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes as well.
Thank you.
Sorry to make you wait around for 2 hours.
no, it's fine. No, we appreciate it. No
Yeah.
problem at all. Have a great night, guys.
No pizza.
Not
Thank
bringing
you.
us the next great controversy.
Yeah, well.
Good luck. It does
Good luck
look
for you
good.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, nice job, by the way. It's
See you
nice
all.
to see
So-
everybody go
So
up.
apartments are still in demand in this area?
Oh, yeah.
For,
Yeah, I mean, if we could build another building there, we would. I mean, there's absolutely.
I'm actually shocked why they haven't done the other one down in Maine.
Yeah, remember that one?
wondering what's
Well,
going on
I-
with that
I-
as well.
Yeah, he's not moving forward with that one. But he may be coming in with something else.
Next to Alberto's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
To the left there.
Maybe.
Yeah, but,
Interesting.
yeah, you guys are good, thank you.
I was looking it over, you all,
Yeah,
it's
I think
actually the third largest multifamily development in town. So,
It
we
looks
only have
nice.
3 large ones in town, so we've been looking at this and, especially under the guise of what I'll be presenting to you all about the MBTA. it's interesting to hear, because I would love to hear more about
Yeah.
the units, because, you know, we're in this world where we have a number of people who don't want to see us do this new zoning district that's required,
Yeah.
and we've been looking at our data, and, you know, we've had no growth in this town, no population growth for 15 years.
Really?
We have been at 19,000 since like 2005.
I thought housing was ballooning, but not commerce and industry.
No, housing's flat. What's happened,
Warehousing has
not to
been
cut you off,
huge.
is that people built bigger houses, more houses get built, but less people are in them.
Right.
And there is a big demand for apartments. You talk about the zoning regarding the transit lines, you know,
Right.
we're building one right now in Middleborough, right next to the train
yeah.
station. Now, we started that, we bought that prior to when it was being built, but planned to be built. And we actually were outside of the zoning for that. We had to do a 40B because all the land within it, you actually
Well,
couldn't use.
they're 40R.
Yeah, the 40R, they're, all that was zoned, you actually can't build on any of it.
Huh.
But we did that, and we're really excited for that to open up, because that's gonna be a huge hit, the
Yeah.
train station right there. But we've looked at all these 40R zoned sites all down the rail line, because they just make a ton of sense.
And then the new MBTA zoning, I mean, you know, there's towns embracing it, there's towns really doing it just to check the box, and, I mean, there's towns that have zoned, you know, brand new condos or brand new Amazon distribution facilities as their zone. Like, somebody's gonna buy a $200 million facility, knock it down to build apartments, like, so it's a hit or miss, and I've been tracking a lot of them, and there's not a whole lot of them that I think are gonna lead to a lot of master housing.
And we're, you know, you should stick around for this.
I'll-
Because
I'll
actually your
watch-
project is potentially in one of the districts.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I mean, we
We're
have to
happy
buy
with
all the
it.
apartments back?
No. Nope.
No, well, we're happy you guys like it, and we really
Yeah.
do too. It's been great, and you guys were always great to work with, so,
Thank you.
good luck on everything
Tell that to the
you're doing.
neighbors.
I know.
We go all over the country, and that's part of the course.
We're not used to making.
I hate it
people
too,
so
because
unhappy.
like,
Yeah.
I get it, like, I get it, but
Yeah.
It is what it is.
You know, it's one of those things where, you know, there was absolutely nothing there before.
Right.
So when somebody builds a house, nobody wants a house built next door. This is
Right.
nothing new.
Right.
But somebody didn't want their house being built at one point.
Right,
potentially.
exactly.
We've had that come up in many places, and we've had boards say that. It's like, look, when your house was built, people weren't happy about it, you know, and that's just the reality of it. And I can see people change, they've been there for years, but, you know, if it's the same size, and frankly, every house, it seems like, in that district,
Is-
doesn't meet the code anyways.
No, that's
And
what
that's
we're
an
all saying.
unfortunate
Well,
circumstance.
all of those
They were
are
cottages.
zoned commercial, and they were all non-conforming.
Yeah, so,
They're perfectly fine.
of
When
course.
they were built, they were.
yeah, in the 50s, they were
conforming.
They were summer cottages.
They were summer cottages.
Right.
Yeah,
All-
yeah.
That's what
all
they
near
were.
the Reservoir.
So, anyway.
It's amazing.
Thank you guys, have a good night.
Great evening, see ya.
Okay,
And I can go quick.
Please.
good.
Yeah, give us
I would love
a fast
the
summary.
lowdown.
Where's
What
the
is this
pizza?
and what?
Yeah.
I'll take my pizza cold. No? No pizza?
No.
Go ahead, Paul.
So MBTA, I just wanted to give you guys an update on
Yeah.
this, because we're steaming along to town meeting with this. And, you know, since, I'm not asking for any action from the board, but since you're all residents and, you know, if you're going to town meeting, I wanted to give you a chance to ask questions or, you know, understand where we're going with this. But we're about a week away from the planning board making their recommendation. And so the MBTA Communities Act, you know, was created back in 2021, and what it's trying to do is try to address the housing prices and the shortage in town.
As we
Well,
just
that-
heard.
Yeah, and this is not 40B. We keep hearing, you know, misinformation about that this is tied to 40B. It is not. This is a different act. It doesn't require affordable housing, although what the planning board is looking at is saying if you do 10 units or more in a structure, then 10% of the units would have to be affordable.
So one unit.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So, but it's there to try to help people who are having problems finding a place to live. You know, in fact, a young woman spoke up last night, 25 years old, and mentioned, you know, still living with her parents. And sure, you all know somebody who's probably in that They may still be at home.
These guys are charging like $2,500, $3,000 for the unit. I mean, 80%
For the market
full?
rate, for the market
That's
rate.
still- that's crazy.
Right,
That's
right.
crazy.
Well, there's, you know, you're in
We're
it.
still below other communities. though.
Right.
It's nuts.
Go up to,
Gets
go
worse as
up
you
to
go.
Braintree and
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
paying
yeah.
1,000 more.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, Massachusetts, we just have high costs. So that's what the purpose of this act was to try to do. And what so Norton was required to do it because we're adjacent to two cities that have commuter rail stations. So that put us in what we call the adjacent district. And so that means we have to create a zoning district. And in our case, we're doing it as an overlay. Okay, so your base zoning stays in effect, but now we're gonna have an overlay district, sort of like the marijuana overlay district or the wetland protection
What's the
overlay.
difference functionally though? I mean, it's still a different district.
So, great point, I'll get there. The state said you have to have a district that has a minimum 15 units an acre, which is interesting for us because we don't have dwelling units per acre. But they said here you have to set up your district so that it's a minimum of 50, at least 15 units an acre for multifamily. So as you know, multifamily is 3 units or more. And you can't, the zoning bylaw had to be suitable for families with children, so we couldn't put any restrictions in like, you know, limiting to 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, anything like that, and it's not age restricted. A bylaw cannot be age restricted, we can't say 55 and over. And the big thing on all of this is, nothing actually ever has to be built. All we're doing is creating the opportunity for it. And we don't have to make any environmental, infrastructure investments. We don't, you know, if a proposal comes along, we don't have to extend water or sewer. And we don't supersede environmental regulations. So wetland, stormwater, those all stay in effect. They still have to be met. It's just, we have to create a district where multifamily is allowed by right, so no special permit. And we have to write it in a way that no variances.
What?
Can be triggered. I know, can you believe that? But no variances. So they're just trying to make sure we have a small area, at least 50 acres, where multifamily just has a much easier path for being
So
approved.
can we use an example?
I'm gonna get there. Oh, do you want one now?
No, I wanna use that next to the church, that lot, to the right.
Oh, right
Oh,
in center of
that just got
town.
approved last night
Oh.
by the planning board.
What is that going to be?
3-story top of the shop housing. Although the Historic District Commission, it's in their district, so they're going to weigh in on it. In fact, they're meeting in a couple of weeks.
Wait, what is it gonna be?
It's a commercial on the bottom
Yeah.
and 2 stories of residential above
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
18 units.
Wow.
18 units are gonna fit there? So
That's a lot.
Where's their parking?
Yeah.
They'll have parking under the building and they'll have parking in the back. So
They're
they
going
have about
underground? Wow.
45 units. Yeah, they should be able to accommodate it.
Wow.
But they still have to get through the Historic District Commission. But that would be a type of thing we'd be looking for, but they had to they had to get a couple of special permits and a site plan approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if this
But
was.
that's not one of the areas we're looking at.
Would this help them or not help them, this MBTA Act? If it overlaid?
Not there. If we had placed it there, it
Yeah.
had been in effect, but that was built under Village Center Core.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Which
Village
basically
Center.
has no rules.
Right.
It does.
Exactly.
It actually has much better design standards in it. But we made it over there, though, we did put standards in to try to encourage more development. So certain special permits that would have been triggered elsewhere didn't get triggered there. So, but here, it's sort of the same idea, except in this case, we only could approve it by site plan. But again, we also want to make sure we don't put regulations in that trigger the need for a variance, because then the state will look at that and go,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, they don't, they want to make sure
Okay.
you get an easier
So they
process.
can put it right up like, that's crazy.
Well, it's like Brockton, my property in
Yeah.
Brockton, before I sold it, when I wanted to expand my building, they said, up to the property line,
Up
do
to the
whatever you
property
want.
line.
Yeah, but that's how we designed it, in you're talking about in Village Center Core, over near the bank? Or,
No, I'm saying these regulations, like you can build your houses
Requesting no
like
variances is what he's
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
touching.
well, it doesn't mean they wouldn't necessarily, but we need to make sure we've put in standards that are essentially where it gets applied, doesn't trigger a lot of the properties having to go forward with
Okay.
it. So we're still, next week, we're finalizing this, because next week they've gotta make their recommendation. Because then, by Thursday, we have to have the final warrant
To the
language
state,
done.
right?
Well, to go to town meeting.
Oh, it's not happening.
Yeah, so, we're still looking at some of the dimensional requirements, but, you know, we have to be more permissive by that requirement. So,
Do we have an area in mind?
yeah,
Yeah,
you wanna see them?
Pick some out.
We have,
So we have 4. So what's gonna happen is, we're gonna have the planning board and FinCom and Select Board all make a recommendation on the areas. So you have to get to 50 acres. So we have 4 areas we're looking at. 3 of them are about 25 acres each. So you could combine any 3 of those, and then one area itself should be big enough to, or would be big enough to accommodate it itself. So, so we went through a pretty extensive public process, and we had an event a couple months ago where people came over to the Crane Room, and we asked them to put dots on the map where they would like to see this district. Now, where do you think, if we're allowed multifamily, where would be some good areas for it? The number 1 vote getter was over here at Norton Glen, which this is right up at this is Easton right here. This is an old Section 8 housing development. It's 150 units. This is actually zoned R80. So this is actually non-conforming now. It's not, because these are all 6-unit apartment complexes here, not allowed in R80. And these are all 1-acre lots, which, you know, R80, as you know, requires 80,000 square feet. So
That's not where the current one is, right? Or
That's
that-
exactly it.
That's
So
it?
Those are all individual lots?
That's not, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were individual lots.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it all owned by somebody, or is
Yeah,
it?
PRI.
Okay, but it's all owned
by one
Oh, okay,
entity.
okay, okay.
Oh, wow.
So this is about 25 acres. It's on sewer. It's already, you know, this is already built out. And it'd be unlikely, even if this redeveloped, that you'd get much more than what's already
What's
there.
over there?
So you can use a zone that's occupied?
Yes.
Yeah,
It'd be
it's an overlay.
completely built.
Yeah.
We're not looking
Wow.
at
We're not looking at
empty
vacant land.
spaces.
No,
No.
and one of the areas we're looking at has a lot of empty land on it, but all the others are kind of like this. They're built, this one was built in the 70s. It's getting aged.
Yeah.
It's I think the affordability requirement is up for renewal in 2033. So it's subsidized, but it is, according to the subsidized housing inventory, I think 2033 is when it's up for renewal. So, but, you know, it would help if this were to become conforming, if we applied it, because we would have to make sure the zoning, the dimensional requirements fit this, and, but it should be a good area for multifamily. I mean, it's already, we've had it there for 50
It's already
years.
multifamily now for Gordon,
Right.
Rankley.
So the zone means if this is ever taken down,
Could be.
replaced.
Yeah, yeah.
How does that happen, though? The owner decides it's not profitable, I can replace it
So it
now
could
with...
be, let's just
Just
say a
like-
big wildfire takes it all out, you
Yeah,
can then
well,
go ahead and
That's one,
Well,
develop.
there could be any
Right.
number of ways, but this could happen anyway. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I mean, it's a little different here because it's zoned R80.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to get, I mean, if they had a fire, that's different because then you could rebuild that. But if they decided to, could they decide to say, we're in this, we'll do something different? They could. They could.
They could build something like across the street.
Or they could always come in and ask to be rezoned. You know, they're not stuck
Right.
with it. So, the number 2 area was Mansfield Ave, so right on the town line. And then, their project is the end point.
Yeah.
Actually, they could scale some of this back, because this is about 32 acres all told.
Oh.
A lot of residential in here. These are all those old quads that were
Yeah, the
built
old
in the
quads,
60s.
yeah.
This is all zone commercial through here. So, and in fact, up here, these 2 properties were recently bought by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. If If you go by there now, you'll see.
Yeah, what is that job site trailer doing?
They are building a training center for IView.
So they're knocking that house down?
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
bought it and they're gonna build it over those 2 lots. So it's a training school,
Got it.
training center for electrical workers.
Gotcha.
Isn't that what the building does now?
Well, that's like the hall where they just.
Yeah, they don't do training. So this is where they'll do it. It was about a 12,000 square foot building
Uh-huh.
that the planning board approved not too long ago.
Is that in Norton or is that in Mansfield?
It's right in Norton.
Oh, it is.
So they own they own property on both sides of the
Yeah,
line, so
yeah.
they're gonna build on ours, so that's new. So, again, that's a new development, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But, again, these are all non-conforming uses right here. But when they were built, they were conforming, they were fine. These are all quads right here. So, if we applied it here, they could be rebuilt, and as you go by some of those, they're looking a little old now.
But those are individual condos, I think, right? Those buildings. Yeah.
No,
Wait,
no, their own, I don't know.
All those houses?
I think those are rentals, because each of these have individual property. Each lot is owned by a different person or
Yeah.
entity, so it's not, I didn't see any of them as any LLC, it's typically a person. So,
each of those buildings,
are quads,
There's 4 of the units in them.
there's 4,
Yeah, it's 4
yeah, it's
units.
multifamily.
Yeah,
but,
Jamie the plumber owns like 14 of them.
but you're saying each building is owned separately? It's not a
Yeah.
one development?
No, and to me, that's a benefit, because for people who are concerned, you might see large-scale development. Well, other than, James,
Yeah.
he owns a couple next to each other. He
Yeah.
owns 3, but the other one's not contiguous.
Hmm.
And then the property right next to where Alberto's is, and then the one
Yeah.
after, that's owned by the same person. Alberto, of course, that one next to Alberto's is vacant. That's the one vacant lot now.
That this plan could help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, could be a great area. Why?
Or,
Because we already
or
have
that other one
multifamily.
where they were gonna knock down that commercial building. Suddenly you give the variances, do whatever you want, basically.
Oh, the one here,
Yeah,
the
that
one
one.
next to.
That was the
He has now
40B
said
that we
he
approved.
maybe, right, this was the 40B.
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah.
The old bit CrossFit.
It doesn't look like he's gonna go forward with that 40B, and he may be trying to do something else, but, he hasn't provided anything, so I can't talk about that, but.
That was in front of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we approved it.
We approved it.
We
At the
approved
same
it.
time as
Yeah,
this
they
other
were-
one.
they
Yeah.
were-
Well, we just got a
months apart,
continuance
yep.
for it, like because they were gonna expire, so.
Yeah, and we gave him a continuance.
For 253.
Extension, sorry.
Yeah,
For
like
253?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that
Does
put
mean
us,
DA
those
can
two,
do something with the old Roach Brothers?
we didn't go into Roach Brothers.
Please.
Well, the concern was we didn't want to see that property potentially just become residential.
It's better than what it
And
is.
the other thing
Been a
too.
vacant lot?
Well, that was the
With
other
truckers?
thing. One thing we certainly heard when we were at Fall Town Meeting, which got punted, was people didn't want to see a large amount of land that's vacant. And that's 13, 14 acres.
Yeah.
A lot of what we're doing here is a big numerical exercise for each of these. It's really about numbers, it's not about reality.
Mhm.
But if people see, well, 13 acres times 15, that's vacant, that could be big number of units. Here, even if you took down that quad,
It wouldn't be a lot.
it'd be 2 more units you could add.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly.
Small.
Yeah.
You take down the shopping center,
Yeah.
that's a big number.
I would love to get rid of that shopping center. Dump.
I'd love to see it, I have my dream of what that
I'd like-
could become.
Yeah, I'd like to see it shopping.
Yeah, I would like a grocery store in our town
I'd
again.
love to see it as mixed use with top of the shop
Yes,
housing and
100%.
multiple buildings.
That'd be nice. Get Robert Kraft.
Exactly, we need to get him here.
No,
So-
he'll never sell that.
The,
It's a
the,
cash
uh,
cow.
the third area that came along, and this was the number 4 vote getter at this event we
Huh.
did, was the old Tweed
Right,
Mill,
right.
right down on Barrows at 138 Barrows.
Yep.
There's an old vacant mill.
I was supposed to buy that.
Yeah, you were. I was like, what is it? Lucas had something.
Really?
Yeah, but the Mass Military Support Foundation's been looking at this site for a few years, and
It's a dump, and it's a
Well, it burned.
money
a cou-
pit.
It burned a couple
Burned a
of
couple
years
years
ago.
it burned,
I mean,
but
what's in there now? Anything in the building?
no, it's empty. But it's 25 acres, and as you can see, a lot of this
Yeah.
is one lot a lot of it's vacant.
That's a great, yes.
This, if for people who would like to see a lot of a potential for multifamily, this would be the place to go. If you're afraid of it, this would not be the place to
Well,
go.
traffic would be an issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that-
again, we're just doing the zoning, so,
Barrow Street is so heavily trafficked now.
yeah,
As is South Worcester.
Yep.
yeah.
I agree.
I
Oh,
can't believe, the cars, I go down every morning.
They all make that left, right there off 123.
Yeah,
Yep, it's crazy.
but
It's, yeah.
I go down Dean Street into Rehoboth every morning to go to Providence. There
Oh,
is,
you go 40, okay,
I go,
44.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense,
Corn
where you
Crib,
work, yep.
then down to 44 and into East Providence. Traffic coming up, there's nobody on my side going down, 7, 8 in the morning, 7 usually in the morning.
Yeah.
Coming up, steady stream of traffic. Where-
A lot of that's 195, because of 195 too.
Is it?
Because of the bridge.
Oh, yeah,
So
when I
they're
was
coming
working in
up through the
Fairhaven,
suburbs to go to
I did.
95 or 495?
I did, when the bridge, when they shut it down, that's how I started going home when I was working in Fairhaven.
It's steady.
And that's one of the reasons I came back here. I'm like, this bridge isn't gonna be fixed for decades.
Oh, ever,
I know.
ever. They put it up to contract and no one bids on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't want to touch this.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Well,
go
the
near
feds
it,
gave
but-
the money. That's one of the only projects they approved.
So this is one of the other ones. So these are all, this is 25 acres as well. So it could be combined with Mansfield Ave or
Glen.
Norton Glen.
But
Thank
this
you.
is considered close to the train station? It doesn't matter.
No,
our
no, we're not,
town
because we're
abuts
adjacent,
Mansfield.
right.
Because we're adjacent, we don't have a requirement where we put it other than
Yeah.
best practice. Where
Right.
would it be? And again, I would just put out what I've been asking the public is, where would you want to see it?
And if we don't do this, we get fined.
Yeah.
Like,
We don't
if
do
we
it, we get sued and we
Sued.
lose money.
Didn't town already reject it once?
Tabled it. It got tabled. And it got tabled because when we did it before, we actually wanted to rezone this parcel. This was a vacant 60-acre site right at the entryway into TPC.
Yep.
You know, we got every impression that this is now owned by, Campanelli sold this, donated it a few years ago to PGA Charities. And PGA Charities has, what we're hearing is they don't want to do anything. I've sent developers down to them to reach out to them, and they're, yeah, they told us they don't want to do anything with it. So, and that was our point was, well, it's vacant. If you do it, it could be a great site. But anyway, that's not on the table. That is off the table, not on it. These, I should say, all of these highlighted areas are what we've noticed too, so we can't even add things back in. But we noticed,
No, but everything you're proposing makes sense.
yeah, and then the last one,
I think people get the impression when they hear this from 10,000 feet, they're like, oh, they're gonna rip all these houses down, they're
Yeah.
gonna build these
No.
skyscrapers.
right,
It's like,
no,
no, that's not
no,
happening.
and the state, I've been meeting with a lot of people, and the state's not coming in and building it, they're not
Yeah,
forcing
exactly.
anybody, it's, you guys live in
Red
this
Mill
world.
Village? That's,
There's a story to that. So, as the planning board's had a lot of engagement with the public, there's certainly a handful of people out there, or a number of people out there who, first didn't want to comply, but then when the Milton case was resolved, they realized they had to do it. At first, when we had our event over with the dot voting, the number 3 vote getter was Wheaton College. And that was we don't want anything anywhere, but the state, has regulations that say you can't put it on a college, right? It makes sense. But then they said, well, if we don't want it, if we can't get it there, let's put it, where else will nothing ever happen? Well, it's Red Mill, right? It's a beautiful project, relatively new.
Yep.
This alone would exceed 50 acres. So I can tell you we were at our meeting last night. There were about 40 residents from Red Mill, not too happy about being considered. Understood. I mean, again, nothing has to happen anywhere. Again, obviously, it's a great area for residential because it's been that way for many years. But again, this was picked by, the board wanted to acknowledge the folks that have been attending who didn't want to see this result in any multifamily being built. So next week, they are going to be making a decision if it's Red Mill or the
Who's they?
combination.
Planning board,
A
right?
planning
Planning
board, yeah. So next week, the planning board will decide or recommend to town meeting, you know, whether it's
4
gonna be
areas.
2 of those other 3 areas or this one.
Are you gonna get all this through town meeting? There's a lot to vote on in town meeting.
Oh, I know.
There is?
And we got recodification too.
Yeah, like, you're gonna blow people's minds.
I honestly, my complaint to the state was, if you wanted to do this, why, you know, you had all this authority, why didn't you just give the planning board the right to approve it? Because this is a challenge, and my concern is that there's so much information floating out there, and every time I meet people, it's just something wrong. It's like, oh, I heard the state's coming in. Recently, I heard it's 15 stories. I'm like, it's 3.
So
Three.
the answer is, they vote it down.
If
If the town votes it down,
If the town votes it down,
Yeah.
then we will be not compliant. There will be grant funds that we will not be eligible to get, and plus other discretionary funds. And we will probably, there's a likelihood that the Attorney General would sue us. They've made it very clear that they want compliance with this, and some of the towns, you know, there are a few towns now that are still duking it out. Middleborough decided to, you know, decided to comply, that they're gonna expand that 40R district, is what I read in the paper.
Why would I, as a homeowner, oppose this overlay over me? Theoretically,
Well, what we were hearing from Red Mill last night was, because of the nature of their condominium association, they were concerned that that might cause confusion with sales, the sale of it. Again, it's an overlay district, it doesn't have to mean anything.
Right.
You know, and in that case, you're a condominium association, so there's a whole lot of hoops that you have to go through. But people just felt, I think it was a combination of that, they were concerned about how it might affect the saleability, and there were some other people going, you're right, but you're right, nothing will get built here, why would we wanna do that? Why not put it in an area where something could happen?
Yeah, right.
So the planning board, select board, and finance committee are gonna have a, you know.
I mean, that's
it's
the thing,
gonna-
if you live at Red Mill, why don't you say, go to East Hodges, there's 500 acres there, just pick a piece of land over there. Why are you doing it over
Well,
there?
that came up, and again, we, you know, at a certain point in the process, we noticed, we were more aggressive in noticing, or at least for now, noticing these 4 areas. And that's about 100 acres, but the intent was, let's be more, you know, cast a wider net, and then as we make our way to now, pick the 50 acres or 50 plus acres. So, that's why. So, I look at this as a range of, you know, Red Mill is probably nothing will happen. Norton Glen and Mansfield Ave could be a small, limited amount of change. And then, I think Tweeve I would look at as the potential for the most amount of new development happening there.
Yeah.
So I've always told people, vote based on what your preference is. But don't vote no.
Right.
Vote on what your, you know, where do you think it should
Good
be?
strategy.
is it gonna be conveyed that if it's shut down, what the implications are gonna be?
Yeah, we've had a lot of that, and we'll continue to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Because I personally, I would rather vote, I'd like to see maybe a mix, right?
Glen and Tweed, done.
Right, well, no, like, yeah, like a mix, like, yeah, let's do something on a plot that has nothing, that is just vacant.
Tweed needs to, something should happen
Something
there.
has to happen
Glen-
there, right?
Yeah.
And then have a spot where,
I
probably
guess
won't
one
happen.
thing about Tweeve as well, it's actually zoned R60.
Yeah.
So, right next to this is Village Commercial.
Yeah,
And I've been telling folks, rezone that.
Yeah.
Get it to Village Commercial. But, you know, until the ownership is resolved on that, but, you know, that mill has been closed more than 2 years, so as you know, you can't, you know, it's no longer has an industrial use on it.
What about the spot on Elm?
That wasn't selected, the public wasn't, you know, it just didn't come up in our public process.
Wow.
There was only a couple dots that were put on it, 1 or 2, and then through the.
Let's say throw it on Elm. They're not gonna do anything with that, that place is, but something needs to be done with that.
Yeah, that's going back to town meeting too. We're gonna have a special to try to correct.
Is it a special or is it going back with us?
Special. It's
A
it'll be
second
a special.
special?
Yeah, May 19th.
How about we did Patton Road or Mayflower Road?
Yeah, all right.
So anyway, the other aspect of this is, you know, we just went through the 4 areas, but there's also the bylaw itself. So, again, it has to be by right, not by special permit. So we've identified several uses that we would like to have by right, which would be multifamily, top of the shop housing, and duplex, and then, you know, the board has to resolve some of the use and dimensional aspects. You know, they have to really decide what area areas they're gonna pick to figure out the dimensional requirements, because 2 of the areas are pretty similar, the others are different, and, you know, you know, like for example, if you look at Mansfield Avenue, you know, the lot sizes are pretty small. You could get, you know, we could have, like what we did during the fall was we were trying to promote small lot sizes to try to get smaller multifamily in. So they're gonna hash that out, they have to finalize it next week. So, again, this stuff could come back, it's unlikely you guys will see anything in this area. That's certainly the intent is to not have to, you know, the state wants these
Seems
things.
insignificant, especially if you pick those 2 areas. It's just, all right, state, you're happy, see you later, bye everyone. Like, it's not even.
Yeah, we've complied, we don't get.
Yeah.
I would say 3
Crushed
of these
and-
areas, the most you're gonna get out of 3 of them is
Yeah.
potential for a small amount of units.
Yeah.
You know, but there's the reality of a 40B or, you know, in other parts of town, we have residential projects at planning board based on being in village commercial or the one that's in the village center. You know, it's not like you can hold off multifamily, it's just those, well, in village commercial, the hurdle is a bit higher because it's a special permit.
Right.
VCC, Village Center Core, we said if you're doing top of the shop, that's by right. And,
Any other exciting projects in town center, or?
How about the library, the old library?
Walgreens.
So.
Well, it's a wedding venue now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in fact, the same
Is-
person who owns the library is building,
I didn't know that's what was gonna be there. It was
Wedding
gonna be-
venue, an event venue, wedding venue.
yeah,
They
it just
just had a
opened.
grand opening last week. Balloons, limousines.
The balloons are still there.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
but he
he's
is
the same guy as
the same Chris Pernock, he owns the library, the old library site, and he's building at the old bank site.
Hmm.
So he just
That
got
bank
his
site was
approval.
400 grand.
He also owns a little bit down there, some of the old Butch Rich property. So I don't know what he wants to do with that. Same person who owns the 253 Mansfield has recently purchased the Honeydew site.
Oh.
So that's also in Village Center Core,
I didn't know
so.
Honeydew was even for sale.
Walgreens
Yeah.
is about to close their doors.
Yeah.
Yep, well, they closed it.
They closed
Oh,
it.
it's
done.
already closed?
That's what I said.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
What's
So-
that gonna be?
No idea, but I sent a letter to them.
Family Dollar.
I sent a
I'll
letter
kill
to
someone.
them, I haven't heard from them.
Restaurant.
Put a Family Dollar in.
A good restaurant.
Yeah, well, we're trying to just send, I sent a letter to, to the property owner, which is Walgreens out in Illinois, I think, but just let them know, if you want to talk about the site, let us know, but they're closing down hundreds of stores, so.
It's like
Yeah,
3,000. That's close to
Oh, it's a couple
3,500.
hundred in New England, that's
Yeah,
right.
3,500 countrywide.
Yeah,
Just
so
get my downtown up and running, would you?
we're trying, I mean.
Well, all those properties were for sale.
I
Ace
hope-
Hardware was for sale, CVS was for sale, all those properties were for
Yeah.
sale recently.
So hopefully, realtors are reaching out to Walgreens to try to do something with that site, because it has sewer, you know, and it's got our most, you know, permissive zoning district. So there's a lot they could do if they didn't want to keep the building.
We just need restaurants.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
hopefully with, hopefully, we get that development built at 10 West Main. You know, hopefully, we'll see what the Historic District Commission does, but if they do, hopefully they could get a restaurant there. That would be a great spot.
Very nice
for
spot.
one. You know, downtown is reopening, or maybe it's reopened, the downtown
He's
cafe.
opening that in April.
Yeah, oh
April.
yeah,
It looks pretty close.
that's good.
That's what I was wondering.
He owns a
Downtown.
restaurant in Rentham,
Gavel, the Gavel.
The Gavel. So I talked to Marcus, and Marcus is like, this guy's going all out. Like, he's doing such a nice job.
What kind of
I
food?
hope he kept, did he keep the bar?
It's like a pub,
Did
whatever.
he keep the old bar?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
What's frustrating is the spot is not opening.
Yeah, what's up with that?
The guy who owned Parker's Pub backed out on Patrick Chung, and
Oh, did he really?
Chung is basically sleeping there now.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's
So,
me to
anyway,
fun.
the board is meeting next week to make their recommendations, and then, you know, that'll be sent to FinCom and Select Board, who will shortly thereafter make their recommendations for town meeting, and May 19th,
Yeah.
All right.
Is there lots of vote on May 19th?
a lot.
A lot.
And you got recodification.
Yeah. There's a
So-
lot. Like, I don't know, people are gonna wait out.
Anything significant?
Yeah, like
Oh,
all,
the
all
Elms,
the
we're gonna bring
rezoning,
Elm
you
Street
got the-
back, the sewer, and just do the force main to the site. So, that's a big, I mean, so 3 projects I'm involved with in one way or another, but, yeah. Let's budget too.
And there's no action on that India Market / Rhodes Brothers. Nothing.
I haven't heard anything. But
I
once
drive to that
once-
Fresh Market in Mansfield now to go shopping.
So
Place is great,
once
but
this
expensive.
stuff between recodification and the MBTA, I have not had, for the year I've been back, very little time to do any of my economic development work. It's just been tied up.
Isn't
Since
this all the same?
I've been working on the same 3 projects for a year.
This is economic development though, what you're talking about, it's all one animal, isn't it?
Well, MBTA, he's just putting a Band-Aid on it, giving them the state of
Yeah,
thinking.
It could be, it could be. It depends where we put it.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of other things we need to do. We're gonna be working on, I'm gonna try to get grant money to do an economic development study, which part of that would result in a type of, could result in a type of funding for infrastructure that, you know, doesn't raise taxes or anything like that, but could help direct new growth taxes back into an area to, you know, for infrastructure, things like that, so.
New playground.
We could use it for a playground, but I want to do something that really draws.
Or fix the frickin' town center, cause now when I go home, we're all the way back to 495 sometimes on a Wednesday. I have to go through Crane Street every time
Yeah.
just to go home. It is so frustrating.
I don't even go through the center town.
No, me either. I just go Crane Street now.
All the time.
Terrible.
That's why they put the wagon way down there, because everyone's going that way now.
Good place for a post office.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Well, that's exciting.
well, there's, the Traffic Safety Committee has been looking at that intersection. There's a consultant that's been helping, and there's a recommendation to do a roundabout there, which it got approved on like a 5-4 vote. Personally, I think that would be the worst thing to do for the village center. When we were looking at
What,
that-
Rotary?
Yeah, because if you're trying to promote
How in the
people-
hell is a tractor trailer gonna go down around that rotary?
How's a person going to cross the street
Yeah.
with a rotary?
There's no way that's gonna happen.
And you gotta have.
And they're gonna take out a lot of land in the process,
Yeah,
so.
the town green, you can't just have a pass through, you know, you have to have a
Yeah.
place to stop to get to the green.
Yeah, I think there's still a ways away from it, but we have to, you know, whatever we go with, we
Yeah.
just have to.
No, that's
work
like
together
the
on.
#1 issue in this town. Is that freaking town
Yeah,
center.
the intersection's huge, but anyway.
All right. Well, that's fun. Sounds like
Thank
you
you.
have a lot
I'd
of
like
fun.
to get home before midnight
Thank
tonight.
you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything
Oh, we
else?
still have to close it. Jesus.
Just the minutes that you
Oh, no.
mentioned.
All right, well, I'm gonna.
I did
That
mention.
again.
Nice seeing you.
Can we not
Okay,
do that?
the last meeting, what did we do with the minutes? Did we approve?
No.
No.
I thought we approved the 2024s.
No, you guys said, remind me,
Next meeting.
in the next meeting, yeah.
Okay,
No, I'm saying next meeting now.
Okay.
I
We
don't
gotta
have the
go.
bandwidth. for
you gotta
that
set them
right
out.
now. Yeah, you did say you were gonna remind us and send out what we wanted to
Yeah.
vote, and you didn't,
See, it's your fault.
which is okay.
Next meeting.
Let's just do that for next
Do
meeting,
6
because I am
months.
starving.
Do 6
Me too.
months.
I've not
I
been
agree.
home yet today.
I agree. I fed the cat, I went home to feed the cats, but I didn't
I
feed
didn't,
myself.
I went right to baseball,
Oh,
and then came here.
speaking of baseball, how do the Red Sox do?
See, how my work. I bring this in.
Yeah. Okay, then, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, yes, yes.
We are
Second.
adjourned. We are adjourned at 9:17. That was